Hey folks, thanks for tuning in today. And thank you so much to whoever that viewer was for the suggestion about doing a series on historical tattoo guys, right? Sailor Jerry, gosh, I can't even remember who all the ones that you suggested were, but I went and I did a super deep dive on ChatGPT and it was so helpful, and it ended up talking about this guy called Sutherland Macdonald. And go check it out. This guy, I can't remember when he was born. Apparently, he lived some crazy life where he said, F it to everything and joined like the military at 13 years old because his grandma said it was okay or something crazy like that. And came back and started tattooing people over in the UK. So, American traditional tattoos, I know. But the first two videos are going to be about dudes from England. Go figure. This guy Sutherland, I guess he had like the first tattoo shop in 1889 in London. Or maybe it was Waterloo. I'm not exactly sure. We'll want to do some fact checking and stuff. So like, don't totally quote me. I'm still learning this stuff. Apparently he holds a patent for an electric tattoo machine, patent number 3035. I'm not exactly sure what year that came out, but apparently in 1894, I think it was, he was the only tattooist listed in the Yellow Pages. And so this guy seems to be, started his career around 1889. And by 1894, he's got his own tattoo salon. They were doing makeup, cosmetic tattoos back then, where he was even doing blush on women. So this has been a thing forever. Cosmetic tattoos have always been around. So here's some of his super awesome designs. And we're going to go ahead and do that hawk design that I just popped up there. Really fun stuff. As you can see, they just had all kinds of detail with that single needle work. Really, really fun. So that's where we're going to go ahead and start the series. And then after that, we're going to go to this other artist, Burchett, something like that. I can't remember his first name. But if this series sounds interesting to you, I'm Clay, the Techie Tattooer. And it's time to get to the iPad. So the first thing I would like to point out with this is how Japanese and American culture have always been interconnected when it comes to tattoo designs and tattooing. Now, while I understand that this guy is not American, he's totally a Brit, he's from the UK. And this is before it was even called American traditional tattooing, because we're way back at the beginning of this in the late 1800s to early 1900s. But I just think it's super important to kind of show that what we consider traditional tattoos have always been heavily influenced by Japanese art. And we have been passing this kind of stuff back and forth forever. It is no surprise that Ed Hardy went and worked with Horiyoshi III and all that kind of stuff, because this is just what tattooing has been. And so this is one of Sutherland's not early pieces, but it's all early, right? Just wanted to show this dragon design that he has. What's really cool as well is look at this little fisher boy, right, with the Japanese maple, Fuji in the background, beautiful soft grass, awesome sunset, the classic cranes. I mean, it's just very, very Japanese influenced, and then there's that difference, of course, as this family crest here. This hawk, right? This is the one that we're going to design our tattoo from. Very much that Japanese golden eagle style treatments with these little dots here, right? Or the little crescents, I guess we can call them. Absolutely 100% Japanese influenced designs. But I mean, the detail level in these is just absolutely insane. Totally gorgeous, really cool. These pieces are just This is where we get a lot of this, you know, that snake tongue coming off the mouth instead of like out of the mouth like we kind of do it nowadays. Shell design, kind of, what is it, Venus de Milo, right? That influence there. But then, you know, you've got the British, I don't even know what kind of crazy tiger dragon things those are, but, you know, you can see how a lot of these classic designs are coming through, right? There's another one of his dragons. I'm going to assume it's his dragon, but it could be somebody else, but I doubt it. Again, more fighting hawks, right? The dead bunny rabbit design. So many classic cool things that we see all over the place, still very active in tattooing today. I mean, look at this Celtic design, right? Like, it's just some of these things, like, they're tried and true classics, and why fix it if it ain't broke? Look at how awesome that is. 'Cause apparently dudes were getting tramp stamps even back then, right? Okay, so what we're going to do, though, for today's drawing is we're going to use this hawk here as our main design. I'm going to go ahead and put it up at the top. We're going to go ahead and make it bigger to fit this page here. There we are. Yep. And we are, for this design, we're actually going to end up going a little bit thinner on the line work here. If you've watched some of my videos, you know that I really like to use a thicker line, right? When I go up here to my mono line, you'll see me oftentimes in like the 20-30% range, right? We're at 19% there, because it's just we do that a lot more in American traditional nowadays with the thicker line work. I personally like it a lot. I think it's fun. But in order to get the detail level we're going to want in a design like this, and it's not going to be exactly like this, right? We're going to do my classic tracing thing where we're going to change a bunch of this up and make it more American traditional. So yeah, keep that in mind as we're designing this. We're going to simplify it out a ton, but we're going to use this core design to inform what our piece should look like. And so that's really what I'm doing here, is just on my technical pen. Sorry I didn't let you know. I was just making sure that my stabilization and my streamline is down, because we're going to sketch over this a little bit and start kind of just like fleshing in what we want our basic shapes to be here, right? That little eye there. This little cheek, I'm not so sure I really like it. It's kind of cool and cute. And then this, just to kind of flesh this out there and there. All right, there's our body. We're going to give it a slightly bigger tail probably. Kind of make it a little bit more like this, maybe a little bit wider. Right, not quite so realistic, right? He's got a very realistic thing, and so we're going to take ours and make it more that traditional flat style. Right, maybe even bring this up like this a little bit more. Probably make this a little bit more dynamic back here like that. Yep, and then probably bring right, something more like that. Give these guys a little bit more differentiation there. Dude, that's actually really interesting though. Notice how in his design here, he's even actually using like almost a little bit of perspective to get this. I mean, like the details on these talons are just so good on these feet here. Like all the little scale lines or whatever those little dimples are called. I think because they're not exactly scales, they're just nubbins, I guess, from hard alligator skin on birds. Maybe they count as scales. I'm not even sure. But I really like how he did that. So actually, freehand, we're going to cut these off, tilt them a bit higher to make that a little bit more extreme there. Bring that in there. Yeah, see, I don't like the way that looks though, because we're wanting to go for more of a flat design with ours. So that means we're going to want this to be longer. Bring this down just a little bit more. Possibly exactly, we might even, yeah. So I want it to be, let's see, that's not quite cool and dynamic enough, is it? So yeah, we're gonna put that there. Yep, that looks pretty good. Gonna make this a little bit more extreme. Sure, let's see. Maybe we don't do all three of the lumps like he's got. Yeah, we're gonna do it more like that. There we are. Because again, we're simplifying this stuff down a bit. Gonna make this a little bit more extreme here. Oh, that needs to be smaller. We'll give him those same. All right, we're gonna make that a little bit swoopier, which means we should probably make these a little bit swoopier. I'm not sure I like how far out that's sticking. Yep. Better. Okay. Right, I like that. We're gonna give it definitely more of that classic old school line in there. We are gonna have this be those scale feathers there. Those will come all all the way to here. All right, matching that swoop. So it's swoop, swoop, right? So it's got a nice little swoopy, swoopy line going on like that. And then I'm going to twist this just a little bit to kind of get these even along this top edge here. And yeah, that still feels like this guy's poking out ever so slightly too far to me. So then I'm going to warp it. Yep, I like that a little better. Yeah, that feels a little bit more balanced to me. Yeah, I do like that. Okay, that feels a little bit more balanced. So that's going to be our basic shape for this guy here. I'm going to go ahead, turn the opacity way down on it. Then we're going to take this image, shrink it down, stick it over here as our little reference, bring the opacity back up by clicking that N there, bringing it back to the max. And so we've got this nice little design here. We can see how dark this really is, how he's got that cool little shine there to differentiate, right? Again, we're seeing these over-under rules kind of starting, right? Where, yeah, he should have, right? Like should have, you know, a little bit of differentiation right in here. That's what we would do nowadays, is we would have this highlight line here, and then we would have another highlight line coming along this side to create that differentiation between these two wings. But again, that's, you know, what we do nowadays versus this guy basically inventing this stuff. And then that same kind of thing that you're seeing happen there, where he's got this nice highlight here so that these feathers can tuck in underneath that in their shading, right? And it just makes it look really nice and folded over and cool. So just things to consider, right? When we're looking at this individual piece, right? Again, same kind of American traditional style rules where you see you get this light white highlight and then it tucks underneath, right? To get that shading tucked underneath there, right? So we're seeing the beginnings of these rules starting to take place. But, you know, obviously this was before they had those rules. It was just draw me a good tattoo, bro. And so, yeah, so I'm going to take this all the way down to 1. How big is that? Yep, we're going to go that small for our line work on this guy here. So he's got like kind of a cool little head lump there. All right, so we're just going to start along this back. Boom. Get a cool little skull lump going, not so big. Get a nice little brow lump going. Yep, I do think I'm going to make it a little bit more evil with the dual brow lump. Let's make that way smaller. Eraser was too big. There we go. Yep. Let's see, so he's got kind of a funny cheek, but that cheek goes way back, actually further behind here than I did it. Boom. We'll get that eye going in there. Like that. Then we'll have, not quite so extreme. Let's go ahead and give him a circular eye. Then we'll do these classic lines there. I kind of like that. It does make him look a little fat. So let's look at putting the eye over the cheek. No, that's not really the thing to do. So his eye is like really in front of the cheek, huh? So let's look at bringing this back even more. Yeah, I like that better. Okay. So we're having that eye lump into there just, or the cheek lump into the eye ever so slightly. Yep, that's nicer. I'm going to smooth that hard transitional curve into a, so curve down and then kind of back up into more of a swoopy swoop. Yep. I actually think I'm going to do that a little bit more with this, so it's going to be a gentler, not so angular curve. Maybe bring this out just a little bit more. Yep, I actually like that. Okay, and then he's got this lower jaw coming out, but we're going to give it that classic American traditional frown, even though it's kind of got that, but not really. Again, we're simplifying this, right? Too long. We almost want these to be equidistant there. Bring it up. Bring that in. There we are, nice kind of equidistant line. We got to give him a badass tongue, of course. Boop. Yep, and obviously my tongue's sticking out way too far, but again, we're playing with this design. We're just using it as our reference point to pay homage to Mr. Macdonald here. And then yeah, it almost looks muscular there. That's really cool how he's got those dots like bringing, yeah, that's cool. So then yeah, let's get something kind of like that. We're going to give it another not makey sensey lump at all. Sorry about that. I'm pretty sure I was just recording at 1/2 zoom out or whatever that is. I could not figure out why it was looking strange. And then, yeah, sorry about that. So if the beginning of the video is kind of like not nearly as focused as this part, that's why. There we go, much better. Okay. He's got a bunch of little tiny scale feathers in here that we'll get in about that section there. And then he's got 2 rows of other feathers. Just this little row here and then that one row. Butt feathers and stuff. Yep, we'll just go ahead and keep on running with the wings here. Right, doing that to match this little dimple and that little dimple, right? Just so it's got some consistency in those design choices there. Not that that's in this thing at all, but right, I'm just choosing, making choices. here. And then, actually, I think I want to pull that back a little bit. Yeah, let's pull that back ever so slightly. Yeah, and then it's going to give us more room for those kind of dynamic finger feathers that are going to pop out of there. Okay, we're doing scale feathers all along here, all along this thing here. So I'm going to go back and we're going to kind of plan some of this out a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is just kind of grid this off a little bit to help me keep my scale feathers a little bit more even. And again, I'm not like, this isn't like a super like, ooh, we got to be like perfect about this. This is just me kind of helping myself out a little bit.
You gotta give him that hunk. Spit on that. Okay. Spit on it. Okay. You gotta give him that hunk. Spit on that.
Okay, so I got those all blocked in. All right, let's go ahead and work with that now. Yeah, we'll do this back wing first. Why not? Right, and this part's pretty simple. We're just following our dots, making it happen. Go from one middle to the next middle. Boop, getting our little grid pattern going. Too big. Right, and just going from the middlemost loop to the middlemost loop. I'm not worrying too much about these guys being super uniform, right? Because that's not really the style of this. That's more my style. And I've got to kind of get over that a little bit for this design, which is going to be super hard for me, but I'm going to try. In fact, I probably shouldn't have even done a grid line because that would help me make these much more organic and less persnickety about all my OC details. And yeah, some designs don't require the regimentation that I bring to the table, and I have to remember that, even though that's extremely hard for me. So yeah, maybe don't do grid lines, because I'm really trying hard actually to ignore them right now. So anyway, oh, you gotta love doing just videos in like real time and just talking on camera and hoping you're making the right decisions until you realize you're not, and you've just showed the entire world that you're bad at decision making. Hey, but we're trying to be tattoo artists, right? So we're not good at decision making. That's not our thing. Even if our stuff isn't supposed to be regimented, our lines still gotta be good. There we go. Okay, cool. That looks okay. But I think I like that a little bit better. We'll see what I think about that. Okay, same thing over here. Ignore my grid lines. I can ignore these grid lines. I can do it. I can do that. Absolutely. That's totally something I'm capable of. Ignore the grid lines. Stop it. Stop it. I can't ignore the grid lines. I'm trying so hard.
Don't say the right words in the right places. Laugh behind our backs, but never to our faces. Who wants to rule the world? Walk all over you. Who wants to rule the world?
What kind of feathers does he have here? Oh, they're interesting. Yeah, they're just little like... Okay, so we'll go like this. Give it something like that. Like that. Just nice little swoop feathers.
Sky so high, sky so blue. Wings of freedom soaring through. Feel the wind, watch the land. Hearts united hand in hand. Mountains tall, rivers grand. Echoes through this mighty land. Rise above, feel the might. Eagle soars into the light. So like an eagle, strong and free.
There we go. Okay. So we got that, we got that. There we are. I like that a little bit better. I mean, normally I don't like having those two lines meet there, but You win some, you lose some. Nobody's really gonna even notice that. Or I can just say, I don't like it. Haha, there we are. Boom. Scooped it back just a smidge. And then, because I'm super neurotic, we're actually gonna take these guys. Pull this back like this. There we go, and that evens that out just a little bit more so that those two last feathers don't look so squeezed. Yep, that just kind of evens it out just a little bit more. I could even pull this one a little bit further. And we gotta kind of keep going with that. Oh, hey, come on, eraser. All right, we gotta sort of repair all of those then. We bring this one a little bit further. We'll cheat it a little bit less. There we go. You gotta go further. So our hot dogs are getting all lumpy. Oh well. We're just gonna split the difference and see how this one goes. Straight down the middle. Boom. Yeah. There we are. Okay, so yeah, super neurotic boy strikes again. Sorry about that. Okay. In order to keep this kind of in the vein that it's already going in, swoop that into there. And this though, because we are doing American traditional versions, that's going to get one of those. Right, even though that's not what it has, I am very well aware. We are. There we are there. Bring this butt around like this. This butt around like that. Actually, we're experimenting now. I might totally hate this decision of giving it a little bit of cooked chicken butt. We might not want cooked chicken butt. Cooked chicken butt might work though. So let's find out before we make any harsh critical judgments about my life choices. Cooked chicken butt might work. Oh, those are folding the wrong way. Because of the way this is going perspectively, this needs to be the overside, not the underside. So that means you're going to go over, you're going to go over. Yep. So I know that's like a weird distinction to make, but what we're doing is by tucking these over under the way we have and by reversing that, what it does is it pushes, hang on, it pushes, oh, finish the line and speak at the same time. You could do it. It pushes, it speak and draw. I don't know if I could speak and draw anymore. My brain has given up. Oh, I got to hold it. Yay. So what that does is it pushes this feather into the front, and then all these ones fold back behind it. And so this becomes the frontmost feather because it's the closest to the viewer, where when we were doing it that way, it actually became underneath these other feathers, and this top feather became the closest one to the viewer, and that's not what I wanted. So that's what I was doing there, is by making these foldovers happen, right? Like like cards, flayed playing, hand up playing cards, right? Splayed, not flayed. Splayed playing cards. do. Each one of those tucking this way, that then puts this one in front, and then they all go behind it. And that is what I want. And that's the kind of things that are like these little like American traditional like, yeah, sure. I mean, we probably didn't have to care about it that much, but honestly, I think it matters. And I think those little tiny things really help to bring a piece together where everything we're doing in American traditional, it's just faking reality. Like in no way is it actually reality. And so notice how I gave this little guy's kind of off on his own, right? We're paying homage to that original design there a little bit. And actually, in order to do that again as well, I think I'm going to shorten this guy up so that this guy is just a little bit shorter as well. Oh no, I got rid of the homage one. Well, fine, I'll redo it. There we go. Right? And so, now it's kind of got that, hey, this is the original reference. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Because that's the sound eagles make actually in the wild. All hawks and eagles make that, the ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, just in case you didn't know. Facts for later. And this thing's got some gnarly claws, I think, because I normally do like really bendy claws and then they're short. But I think I'm going to kind of keep this guy the way he's doing it with these like more front-facing claws. Again, just because that's kind of how he did it, not because that's how I would do it. Yeah, we're going to keep it different from what I would do, which is very hard for me. So that means front-facing claw, front-facing claw, don't really like that they're touching, but I'm actually just gonna leave that. I don't like that they're touching. There we go, but that's way too long. There we go. That's right. Just because it's the precursor of the velociraptor doesn't mean it's an actual velociraptor, people. So let's keep that in mind when drawing eagle talons. Okay, much better. My little neurotic brain can handle that. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. They're not touching anymore. Whew! Okay, okay. Crisis averted. Chicken butt, though. To butt or not to chicken butt? This is the question. Because what he's got is he's got like a cool little butt like this, and then the feathers come out of that, and then another cool little butt like that. See that? He's got like a tuck butt. Duplicate. But see, that's all curved to the side now because my butt's a little bit flatter. And then that makes it all curved to the side, but whereas his butt is much more perspective-y, right? And I decided not to go so perspective-y with my butt. So now he's like trying to shake it for the camera. I think we're just going to leave it. I think I'm getting lost in the sauce there. We're going to leave it like that. And we're not going to worry too much about chicken butt. Comment below if I should have spent more time on this chicken's butt. Obviously, I know it's not a chicken, but you know what I mean. Cooked chicken butt. Or comment below if I spent way too much time on chicken butt. That's allowed too. Because let's be honest, that's probably the case. Okay. So I think the only issue here is I have made his facial features and head too big. And it makes him look much cartoonier. So that's why I just duplicated this layer here. Whoa now. I'm going to cut it off from here and cut it off from there. Hey now. Yoink. Yoink. Whoops. Yoink. What are you doing to me? There's no reference layers up. You're the freaking layer I'm on. Exactly. Give me your face. Yoink. This is also why I wish that I did some of these live. I think I might have to start doing some of these live streams, guys. Let me know if you want me to do some of these live streams so that I can get input from you guys on what decisions I should actually be making mid-design. Because sometimes I sit here all by my lonesome all like, God, am I making like the world's worst decisions on this piece or what? It would be nice to get feedback from my end anyway. So if that's something, yeah, see, I feel like that's meaner and more aggressive, even though his face is smaller now. I think that looks cooler. I feel like his feet might be a little bit big now, right? Like if you look at this comparison, right? I think his feet have gotten a little out of hand on the ginormous side. they need to be that big. And I shrunk them together so they stayed proportionally the same size, roughly, just in case anybody was curious about that. So I wasn't sizing one foot and then trying to size the other one to kind of match, right? Yeah, because there's not that big a line difference there, I'm actually not going to worry about relining the feet there, because you can't really tell that they're a different line weight, I don't think. Maybe you can? I don't know, maybe you can. Oh gosh. Let me just fast forward and shame myself. Exposing the absolute depth of my neuroses to you folks. That just had to happen though. God, I wish I wasn't so neurotic some days. Okay. Now, we're going to play around with all these cute little dots. Yep, I'm on a new layer. We're good there. Let's see, yeah, we just got cool little dot lines along that. Nothing along these little guys. Dot lines all along there. Cool shading that comes in there. Yep, just like rad. So, boom, boom, new red. I'm just gonna drop the opacity down in this layer right away. All right, sorry about skipping that part, but just filling in all these little dots was just a little bit too boring to put in the video because you guys know how to draw little curvy shapes. Like, yeah, that's not anything interesting at all. But here we are with what I believe is a good version of the outline. We'll go ahead and give it an eye here. Right, there we are. And yeah, folks, I think that's a really good outline. I'll probably make this leg just a little bit thinner. A little more consistent there so it doesn't have quite that taper on it. Yep, maybe we'll make this part a little bit shorter in the leg there. Yep. And yeah, there we go. that will be our outline for our fun little hawk design there. Inspired by this Sutherland Macdonald piece. We won't put all those details in there because we're definitely going for that more, you know, empty American traditional look instead of going for this straight up what he's got designed there. And yeah, go ahead and move on to shading then. So I'll go ahead and just squish these two layers down onto one layer, make them the reference layer. There we are. Have my little shading layer underneath there. Get to my soft brush, and we'll start making choices. We'll start with this. Shrink this down a bunch. Right, do something like that. Maybe we'll even add like a little highlight here. Yep, and then, so what I'm thinking is actually that for a lot of this, we will probably end up using mostly the freehand tool in order to give it the shaping that we want. So, right, like things like, for instance, we'll go to the freehand tool here, grab this section of the leg. And we're going to go ahead and give it that same basic treatment where we're going to shade from back here. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, not so much actually. Let's go ahead and just start back there and just give it something like that. Yep, so it's brighter, right? We don't want it to be as dark as the back leg, so the back leg looks like it's pushed back more. And then kind of what I mean here is, right, we'll take this sort of shit, this, yoink, bring it around. Create kind of something like this, perhaps. Yeah, and then we'll bring this up through here. Yeah, he's not, yeah, so it's mostly just dark here and then dark here. We're not gonna really follow exactly that. I think what I'm gonna do, make this a little bit bigger. Like that. And like that, maybe a little bit darker on the butt side, kind of like how he's got it. We'll do kind of the same thing here. Give it kind of, yep, something kind of like that. Maybe we'll even give it a little bit of a highlight here, and then kind of do the same for these. Yep, I'm into that. We'll go and grab this top piece. To curve it around. Curve this. Whoa. Follow that. Whoops. Dang it. Do kind of like how he's got with something like that. Yep, that looks pretty good. And then we will use the smudge tool just a little bit here. Nope, smudge tool. Up opacity, make it a little bit smaller. Kind of blend this stuff a little bit. All right, blend these a little bit. Right, so just a little bit smoother. Maybe blend this a little bit smoother. There we are. And then this, we're gonna wanna be pretty light, right? I don't wanna do the same thing, the same treatment he's got where it goes dark all the way up to the edge there. So what are we gonna do about that? Let's think here. We'll go ahead and make this dark from here and then pull in the highlight. Whoops, too big. Bring those highlights in on the edges there. Yep, I like that better. Did not want to erase this little section out. There we go. Yeah, I like the way that's looking. And then, so we don't get too crazy, absolute, insano level detail, I probably shouldn't have put in, and again, this is why, you know, it's good to like do your design and get the blacks into it, because really, we wouldn't want to, on a client, if we were doing this design, to lose all of the line work that we're about to lose on this guy. Because that's just a waste of time. It's a waste of client pain and all that good stuff. And we don't want to be going over these lines and trying to draw within these little guys, because frankly, we're just going to go ahead and give it something like that, right? Yep. I like how that's turning out. We'll give a slight bit on these here, but really just as they tuck under. Right, so maybe a little bit larger and just kind of give it something like that. We'll do the same over here on these guys. Whoa. Yep, I may want to put these little lines in those under wings there, or under feathers. That's probably the best thing to do for consistency's sake. And we're grabbing this individual block here and this individual group, I guess we'll call them blocks. I'm not really sure what to call these little sections of scale feathers that I've decided to hold on their own. Right, something like that, and that looks pretty good. As you can see, we're just doing these individual groupings. You know what? These are just gonna go pure black. Right, that's pretty good. Yeah, I am gonna go back to this line work layer, and we are going to there we go. Yeah, that feels better. That does. Whoops, not on this layer, on the shading layer. Excuse me, that was disgusting. Who cares? Stop honking your horn, people. Nobody cares. Oh my gosh, people are so rude. Okay. Yep. One little last butt piece shade. Yep. And then we'll smudge that out a little bit. Yeah, and there we go. That's not bad. Now, obviously, this could be a color brown sort of treatment. We have no idea because of how old the photo is and how black and white it is and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's just no way to tell. I'm going to guess that it actually probably is in color. Yeah, that's everything there. To be honest, right, that's probably the most likely scenario. Yeah, I kind of like that a little bit better. I'm gonna go over to my spray paint and grab my fat nozzle, start lightening things up towards the middle like I like to do. And this is just how I like to do my backgrounds. There's no reason for you to do your backgrounds like this. You're gonna find your own ways that you guys like to do them, and please do them that way. Okay, and then we'll bring this reference layer up there. Cool. So that's right there again. We'll do that. And then if we did want to add a color layer, like we're gonna be at just like one kind of odd, kind of golden brown, I think would look good. But again, you know, I'm not sure what sort of colors were even available then. So actually, there's a quicker way to do this. We're gonna grab it like this. We're gonna invert the selection, and we're just gonna draw. Oh, is that not, okay, fine, invert selection. I can just use the fat nozzle, whatever. Shwa, boom. There we go. Let's see, so his beak will be kind of like a golden yellow, because we're gonna keep it all in the same kind of color settings, right? So that way it's nice and cohesive. And we'll grab his beak and these two things here, and we'll smear those in. Let's get his other back claw dealy-majig. You know, we're gonna go ahead and get this, that brighter color to just kind of stick with our American traditional BS. right? Just little bits there. Then we're gonna, of course, erase out this funky stuff in the eye here. We'll just go ahead and actually give him the golden eye, like he's James Bond or something, because that looks kind of cute. And now we're going to erase out the skin breaks in this guy. Let's see if I need to select things or if I can just kind of, whoops, go for it here. Too small. There we are. Yeah, because now I'm erasing out that part in the butt. All right. Ugh, all right, give me a sec. Leave the full color in those golden parts there. I am actually going to go back into this and make that actually true open at the ends of these. Oh my gosh, stop screaming on my YouTube video, people. Hopefully you can't hear those folks out there. But Shelton can be a wondrous place with people screaming all hours of the day and night. Right, that's already looking a little bit better. Just to give that differentiation in there. Right, yep, we got cooler looking. No. Yep. I keep wrong one. There, actually, that's all the same. So then we'll just kind of, yep, something like that. Go to the tail here. And you know what? I think that's pretty good. I think I do like the way that looks. We could, if we were being like super picky, we could go through and get like a tinier thing here, kind of like pull out a little bit of a, whoa, much tinier. All right, pull out like a little bit of a highlight there. You know what I mean? Because that just kind of makes it look a little bit more dynamic, a little bit cooler. But honestly, I think that's pretty good. I think that's a fun little way to start this series off and get us going on the right direction. So, yeah, that's it, folks. This is our first in this series. And then the next guy, I think it's George Burchett, something like that. And he was actually apprenticed under or taught by this guy, which is kind of how I ended up finding out about it and doing a little bit of research and, you know, deep diving like I end up doing. And so that's going to be the next guy, is another UK guy. But then don't worry, we start getting our way across the pond to America to study American traditional. But hey, I thought this would be a great place to start because, you know, chronologically, it just seemed like a really early example. If you have other examples I should study that we can talk about and work from earlier in history, those kinds of things, shoot me a comment. Let me know. I'd love to hear about this. I love learning about this stuff. But barring that, hopefully you guys found this interesting and we had a good time drawing together. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend if you could think that, they might find it interesting. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you so much.